Let's wait another 30 seconds or so. Let's wait another 30 seconds or so. And all that to get in here.
Got all quiet in here.
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did. I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals to order. If you would, if you have a cell phone, I would appreciate it if you would put it on silence or turn it off. First thing we need to do is stand, give pledge of allegiance, and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes of Tuesday, November 7th, 2023 meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion to approve and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passed.
You ready for
Mr.
me?
Sheeline.
Before we get into the agenda, I do want to mention that we had one case continued tonight, case P33V23. It's the case at 324 East Bell Avenue. So if you're here for that particular case, it will be continued until the January meeting. There is another case on Bell Avenue at 220. That will be heard this evening, but the 324 will not be heard until the January meeting. So with that being said, the first case on the agenda tonight, Mr. President, is case P17 SE 23, petition of Nick Richardson, Lisa King, requesting a special exception for section 3.25 for dwelling multifamily 4 units or less in order to rent 3 apartments units in a neighborhood commercial zone, and this is at 400 West Elm Street.
I move that we approve case number P17-SC-23 and adopt the findings of the petitioner and those of this board and make those findings part of our records, please.
Second.
Has any of the members had any ex parte communications on this?
No, sir.
We have a motion and a second. Nope. Petitioner here.
Yes, I am.
If you would, step up to the microphone and state your name and address. And
My name is Nick Richardson. I live at 2201 Eastbrook Drive here in Kokomo.
okay, you want to read,
Sure. And you would like me to read the question and the response?
yes.
Okay. The proposal will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. If the proposal is granted, will not be an issue or have any negative impact on the community whatsoever. B, the requirements and development standards for the requested use as prescribed by this zoning ordinance will be met. The buildings meet the minimum requirements for the front and side setback requirements for the zoning district. Yes, all the requirements and standards have already been met. The granting of the exception will not subvert the general purposes served by this zoning ordinance and will not permanently injure the other properties or uses in the same district and the vicinity. The granting of this exceptions will not injure another property for the use in this district or any other district and will align with the current zoning purposes. The proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district therein, the spirit of and intent of this zoning ordinance, and the Kokomo Comprehensive Plan. The proposed use aligns even more so with the character of the district, as the area is primarily residential, and using the property for the residential will fall directly in line with that.
Thank you. Have any questions from members of the board? Mr.
Here's
Shealy?
the staff findings. Staff findings for case P 17 SC 23. Proposal will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. As the petitioners are utilizing an existing structure, no new building will take place. The petitioners plan to activate the existing building for 3 apartments and personal storage, which will not harm the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare of the community. The requirements and development standards for the requested use as prescribed by this zoning ordinance will be met. The building meets the minimum requirements for front and side setback requirements in the zoning district. The existing building was constructed in 1915 and as such is legally non-conforming to setback, lot coverage, and landscaping standards. Petitioners do not plan to provide off-street parking for their tenants due to the existing coverage of the lot, but the NC zone does not have specific residential parking standards. The granting of the exception will not subvert the general purposes served by this zoning ordinance and will not permanently injure any other properties or uses in the same district and vicinity. The use of the building as a residence should not negatively impact property values, adjacent property owners, or the use of the neighboring properties. The 3 units will be 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, and 4 bedroom. The proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district therein, the spirit and intent of this zoning ordinance, and the Kokomo Comprehensive Plan. The petitioners currently have a tenant in 1 of the 3 units and are now seeking to make the apartments legal. The subject property is surrounded by R4 and R5 properties with a mixture of commercial, residential, and institutional uses in the next block. The City of Kokomo Comprehensive Plan calls for this area to be utilized for high-density residential. As such, 3 apartment dwelling units would be a compatible addition to the area.
Thank you. On the first floor, there's going to be, what, 2 apartments?
Correct.
And then the 4 bedrooms going to be on the second?
Correct.
Is it an outside entry for the top floor?
Yes.
Is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak on this?
It has the potential to be 4 units. So we want to put that in for the contractor on it for Lisa.
If you would, step to the mic and state your name and address.
Dustin Moloch. It has the potential to be 4 units. May get broken up. That is the purpose that Lisa has set for it. Lisa can't be here because she lives in California. So we just wanted to lay that out so it was there. Yep.
I believe the special exception is good up to 4 units. if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
2-4, right?
Pardon me?
It is 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's no on-site parking whatsoever?
There is so it would be the west side of the property. There's currently a tree where you could put 2 vehicles. That tree will come down. And there will be just a gravel lane there between the neighbor's fence and the existing property or building.
So you do have possibility?
Yeah, for 2.
I believe it used to actually be, because it's ramped up from the street as a driveway.
Yep.
It just hasn't been utilized that way.
Yep, it hasn't been utilized that way in a year. Tree is overgrown. There's overgrown, so all that'll be taken out. Be set up for at least 2 vehicles to be parked there.
The storage spaces as listed on here, is that for the apartments themselves or is that separate?
Yeah, that will, not sure about the purpose of that yet. It could be separate for the owner. As of now, the upstairs apartment is 5 units in itself. So it's massive. So that was probably gonna be divided there, have an exit door, cause there's one in the front, one in the back. and then you have then you have one in the bottom, one on the other side. So it could be a 4-unit, so not 100% certain what she's gonna do yet, but that's proposed, so.
It's currently just my storage. It's not part of their contract, but it's open if they would like to use it currently. But obviously, they've got future plans for it potentially, but it's just,
Yeah, it's storage as of now. Right now, yes, it's definitely correct.
Is it a separate building?
no,
No.
it's attached.
But, and just keep in mind that the special exception is good for 4 units.
Correct,
yeah.
If you, at any point in time want to go above that, you would have to come
Yeah,
back
you gotta
before this
rezone
board.
for commercial.
Okay,
Understood.
all right.
Yep.
I just wanted to get that in the
Yeah,
minutes.
absolutely.
Have any further questions from the board members?
Thank you.
No further questions, so we have a motion to approve. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion passed. Thank you.
Next case, Mr. President, is case P29V23, petition of DJ Butcher, requesting a variance of 4,276 square feet to section 3.20 minimum lot area, variance of 25 feet to section 3.20 minimum rear yard setback, and variance of 55 square feet to section 3.20 minimum floor area unit in an M2 zone. This is at property at 422 West Deffenbaugh and 1422 South Webster.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second.
I move that we approve case number P29-B-23 and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board and make those findings part of the record.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any members had any ex parte communications on this?
No, sir.
Is the petitioner here for, would you state your name and address and,
DJ Butcher, 106 North Washington Street, Kokomo, Indiana, 46901.
thank you.
Petitioner's finding of facts. The approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. This variance will allow for an underserved need for the community. 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. This would be a useful transition to the existing property, converting it into multifamily, and this would bring positive investment to the community. 3, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed, nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. The current zoning does not allow for a 5-unit multifamily structure. This variance will allow for the rezoning to occur as the lot size is too small and the units average 745 square foot. This site already has access to safety or safe pedestrian walkways. There's plenty of parking. This project will serve the public health, safety, comfort, convenience, and general welfare of the community.
So what you're doing is you're using you're gonna take the existing building that's there
Correct.
and turn it into apartments.
Correct. I got another drawings if you guys would like to see them. That would help.
Sure.
So the rear setback's already there because right where the building's sitting, it already exists.
Correct. That's correct.
So are you converting that existing building, or are you gonna demo that building?
The building's gonna stay as is. We'll cut in some windows and doors, but we're not doing anything other than that to the building. The building stays, I guess what I'm saying. The existing structure stays. We're just making them into the apartments in the inside.
It
All
looks
the
like
entrances on the parking lot side?
It'd be on the west side, correct. That's correct.
It looks like all at least 3 of the 2-bedroom units they have 2 bathrooms in them?
Each 2-bedroom has 2 bathrooms. Correct.
Staff findings for case P 29V23, the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The approval of the requested variances for lot size, rear setback, and average unit size will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. The petitioner has simply renovated an existing building into 5 apartments. The building has been in place since 1969 with no rear setback. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Granting the requested variances will allow the petitioner to utilize a currently vacant building for useful and much-needed housing. As no additional building will take place and the petitioner will remodel the existing building, it should have no impact on the surrounding area that is already largely residential. The lot has ample parking available for new tenants, so street parking will not be needed. As for the building, it is already constructed with no setbacks. The petitioner is simply seeking to make it legal. The variance for smaller lot size and smaller units would impact only the tenants who choose to live there. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. If the variances are not granted, the petitioner will be unable to make the existing building from 1969 legal and will be unable to follow through with the plan to convert the building into 5 rental units. The petitioner faces the practical difficulty in the existing building being non-conforming and in the creation of plans that he may now be unable to use.
Anybody from the audience have anything to say on this case? Any member of the board have any other questions? If not, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you. Next case, Mr. President, is case P30V23, petition of Rick Dennis requesting a variance of 9% square feet to section, 9% to section 3.34, maximum lot coverage in the C2 zone, C1 zone, and this is at 1114 East Morgan Street.
Thank you. Any members had any ex parte communications on this?
No.
I need a motion.
I move that we approve case number P30-V-23 and adopt the findings of the petitioner and those of this board and make those findings part of our records.
Second.
Thank you. Are you the petitioner?
Yes, I believe I am.
If you would, state your name and address.
My name is Rick Dennis, and I live at 1024 East Gerhart, Kokomo, Indiana.
Thank you. If you would,
Okay, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The garage will be set back on the garage will sit in the back of a lot where nobody will be walking. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The lot next door to me is vacant, and the garage will be built by Coach House Garages, and it will look like the buildings on the corner with the same siding and roofing. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of the restriction of economic gain. I rent the 1114 address and I store stuff in the 1112 address. The renters also want to rent the 1112 address, so I need the garage to take the stuff out of the 1112 address and store it in the garage.
thank you. Any members of the board have any questions for the petitioner?
When you're saying the back of the lot, that's to the west and to the north, is
Is that where it's gonna be, the northwest corner, basically?
Yes, yeah, there's already a concrete slab there. There was a garage to be built there back, I think, in the late nineties or early twenties. And, the people who owned the property before had the slab done and gave money to the people to build the rest of the garage for materials and left. And then later on, I bought the property.
Okay. Anybody from the audience have any comments, questions? Any member of the boards have any more comments or questions? We have a motion and a second.
No, we need the staff findings.
Oh, you want to read yours?
Not particularly, but I would.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. Staff findings for case P 30V23. The approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The proposed garage that will exceed lot coverage requirements will not create any safety hazards, block vision, or encroach on any recorded easements or property lines. The approval of the variance for lot coverage in order to construct this garage will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, as the proposed garage will be placed to the rear of the lot on an existing concrete slab. Its presence should not impact surrounding properties, their owners, or their use. The proposed garage will meet all other development standards. The strict application is determined this zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulty. This situation should not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. If the variance is not granted, the petitioner will be unable to construct his new garage, which would keep him from being able to clean out one of the existing buildings and move his items to a more appropriate storage site. Petitioner would be unable to fully utilize his lot as he desires.
Now, if there's no further questions. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passed.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. The next case, Mr. President, is case P 31V23, petition of Mike Lewis requesting variance of 50% to section 6.46A parking, variance of 2,344 square feet to section 3.18 minimum lot area, variance of 12 feet to section 3.18 medium lot width, variance of 2 feet to section 3.18 minimum side yard setback, variance of 3 units to 3.18 maximum density in an M1 zone. This is at 708 North Main Street.
Thank you. Members had any ex parte communications on this?
No.
I need a motion.
I move that we approve case number P31-B-23 and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board and find those findings part of the record.
Second.
Thank you. Is the petitioner would you state your name and address for the record and explain why you're here?
All right. Mike Lewis, 11035 Cool Winds Way, Fishers, Indiana. One, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The approval will not be a detriment to the community, as its goal is to serve and benefit the area by providing more residential opportunities, though utilizing the empty lots to their maximum potential. The variance that we are requesting of the setback for the side yard and the lot width will not affect the community, as that lot has been created as a 58 wide lot instead of the typical 60 feet. For the parking variance, there are some roadside parking available to help accommodate any additional parking if it is needed. Number two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. The approval of the variance will allow for more homes and enhance of the values and aesthetics of this commercial and residential area, and make the vacant lots that adds to the vibrancy of the developments The neighborhood would benefit from the additional housing and density because the area has so many vacant and open under used spaces. Number 3, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of the restrictions of economic gain. This is to allow for an adequate increase of housing in the neighborhood. The variance for the lot coverage is necessary. We're requesting a variance for the minimum lot area occupied to allow for potential additional parking and communal green space in order to fit the amount of housing to make this project beneficial for the city, the community, and the builder. These variances are required to be so we can comply with the requirements.
Thank you. Any member of the boards have any question for the petitioner?
Is this on the north side of the alley or on the south side of the alley?
I believe this is the north side of the alley.
So this is the large two-story building that's sitting there, not the
Actually, it's
garage?
the opposite one. It has nothing. It's empty. It doesn't have anything on it.
So there's nothing on it?
Nothing there right now.
Nothing at all?
No.
That brick garage that's, needs to be gone is not on this property?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Explain to me in your point of view, you say additional parking may come, where's the may in that, what could you do?
Say that one more time, sorry.
You say additional parking may be available, what does that mean?
We have obviously there's on-street parking, so the parking, yeah, that would be on-street parking.
So you're not gonna have any on-premise parking?
Yes, we're gonna have four parking spots.
That's 4 units, correct?
Yep.
Does the city use that alley? There's a east and west and north. Is that a, does the city use that alley to pick? There's no trash cans or anything sitting on the east-west alley, but they're on the north-south alley.
I don't have an answer for that. I don't know if that's alley been vacated or not.
Well, that was my question. Is there any way we
Could vacate it?
yeah, I mean, I just,
I don't know. I honestly don't. I don't have an answer to that.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, we could vacate it, but I don't know whether it's in use or not. I don't have the answer to that question either.
We can certainly find that out, but I don't think that alley's been vacated. But I don't know that for a fact.
It would only add 8 feet because it's split between the two property owners.
Yeah.
So either, if you went,
Well, take away the slight variance, but I was just hoping for
Right.
more parking.
Right. That's something we can certainly look into, yes.
Any other questions from the board?
Ready for me?
Mr. Sheila?
Staff findings for case P 31V23, approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The approval will not be a detriment to the community as its goal is to serve and benefit the area, providing more residential opportunities through utilizing the empty lots to their maximum potentials. The variances that are requested in the setback to the side yard and lot width will not affect the community as the lot has been created as a 58-foot wide lot instead of the typical 60-foot. For the parking variance, there are some roadside parking available to help accommodate any additional parking if it is needed. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The approval of the variances will allow for more homes and enhance of the values and aesthetics of this commercial and residential area and make this vacant lot that adds to the vibrancy and developments. The neighborhood would benefit from the additional housing and density because this area has so many vacant and open, underused spaces. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed or be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. to allow for an adequate increase of housing in the neighborhood, the variance for lot coverage isn't necessary. We're requesting a variance for the minimum lot area occupied to allow for potential additional parking and for communal green space in order, you know what? I just read the petitioner's findings.
Yes, you did.
Why didn't you tell me that before?
Well,
you got all
I
the way
was
through?
trying to figure out where you were reading from.
I apologize, folks. I'll start what I'm actually supposed to read now. It's been a long day. Once again, findings for P 31 V 23. Staff, this is the staff findings. The approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The requested variances for parking, lot area, lot width, side yard setback, and maximum density will not harm the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. The new building will not block vision or encroach on any recorded easements. The use and value of the area adjacent to this property included in this variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Granting these variances to allow a smaller lot to be used for multifamily purposes should not negatively impact the residential character of the surrounding areas. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. If the variances requested for parking, lot area, lot width, side yard setback, and density are not granted, the petitioner will likely be unable to move forward with the project as planned. The staff desires that the board make their own determination based upon the facts presented in this case.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. My first mistake today.
Your first mistake. Any members of the board have any other questions? Any members from the audience have any additional questions? If not, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Thank you.
The next case is case P 32 V 23, petitioner Mike Lewis requesting a variance of 50% to 6.468 parking.
Isn't that the one you just said we continued?
No, it's the next one that's continued. P 32, we're hearing it.
Okay.
We're not hearing P 33. So case P 32 V 23 is the petition of Mike Lewis requesting a variance of 50% to section 6.46 parking, variance of 2,560 square feet to section 3.18, medium lot area, variance of 10 feet to section 3.18, minimum lot width, and variance of 3 units to section 3.18, maximum density in an M1 zone, and this is at 2324 North Diamond Street.
I move that we approve case number P 32-B-23 and adopt the findings of the petitioner and those of this board and make those findings part of our record.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. As petitioner.
Mike Lewis, 11035 Colwyn's Way, Fishers, Indiana. This is much similar to the last one. The approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The approval will not be a detriment to the community, as its goal is to serve and benefit the area by providing more residential opportunities through utilizing the empty lots to their maximum potential. The variance that we are requesting, the minimum lot area to allow for us to be able to build on the lot, was open for us. We cannot enlarge this lot to accommodate this. We are able to create a higher density housing unit to meet the average living square footage in these lots to be able to provide adequate housing to more people in the growing community. For the parking variance, there are some roadside parking available to help accommodate an additional parking if it is needed. Number 2, the use and the value of the area adjacent to the property, including in the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The approval of the variance will allow for more homes and enhance the values and the aesthetics of the residential area and make this vacant lot that adds the vibrancy and developments. The neighborhood would benefit from the additional housing and density because this area has so many vacant open underused spaces. The strict application, number 3, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on perceived reduction of the restriction of economic gain, To allow for the adequate increase of housing in the neighborhood, the variance for the lot coverage is necessary. We're requesting the variance for the minimum lot area occupied to allow for potential additional parking and for commercial green space in order to fit the amount of housing to make this project beneficial for the city, the community, and the builder. These variances are required so we can comply with the other requirements. In order to adequately serve the neighborhood with housing, the usable space must be used to its greatest extent to maintain the neighborhood character. These standards need to be modified.
Thank you. Any member of the board have any question for the petitioner? Mr. Sheehan, you got the right ones this time?
I got the right one, I promise you. Staff findings for case P 32V23. The approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The proposed variances for parking lot area, lot width, and density will not create any safety hazards or injure the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare of the community. The variances will not block vision or encroach on any recorded easements or property lines. The use and value of this area adjacent to the property included in this variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Granting the requested variances will not impact the neighboring property owners as the building will be fully contained on the property. The proposed multifamily use for this smaller lot will be compatible with the residential uses in the surrounding area. 4 new modern apartment units will be a beneficial addition to the area and will activate a currently unused lot. A strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed, nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. If the variance is requested for parking, lot area, lot width, and density are not granted, the petitioner will likely be unable to move forward with the project as planned. The staff desires that the board make their own determination based upon the facts presented by this case.
Thank you. Any member of the board have any questions?
Where's the parking gonna be on this lot, on this?
There's a alley, and it has 4 parking spots in the back as well, and then it has 2 off-street parking.
You're gonna come off the alley for the 4?
Yep. There's a vacant house on this lot as well that is gonna be taken down as well.
To say the least. Greg, do we address that? I know it's people over here, is this the street easement all the way up to here?
Yes.
So, this could be off-street parking, but it's not for the building.
Could be, yes, correct. Could be.
Any other questions from members of the board? Any questions from members of the audience? We have no further questions. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion's passed.
Okay, the next case, P 33V23, is the case that was continued.
Okay.
So that case will not be heard until the January meeting. So our next case is case P 34V23. The petitioner Mike Lewis requested a variance of 50% to section 6.46A parking, variance of 10 units to section 3.22 maximum density, variance of 20 foot to section 3.22 minimum rear yard setback, and variance of 6% to section 3.22 maximum lot coverage. This will be in an M3 zone, and this is at 220 Eastvale Avenue.
Thank you.
Mike Lewis, 11035 Colwins Way, Fishers, Indiana.
We need a motion.
Oh, sorry.
We do? Oh.
I move that we approve case number P 34-V-23 and adopt the findings of the petitioner and those of this board and make those findings part of the record.
Second.
Okay,
Thank you.
now we can go.
All right. Mike Lewis, 11035 Colwins Way, Fishers, Indiana. Number 1, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare in the community. The approval will not be a detriment to the community as its goal is to serve to benefit the area by providing more residential opportunities. they're utilizing the empty lots to their maximum potential. The variance that we are requesting of the setbacks in the rear yard will not affect the community as it is backed up to an empty space of the stadium, which an alley in between the stadium and this lot. The side setback variance we are requesting is to allow for a large enough driveway into the parking lot. For parking variance, there are some roadside parkings available to help accommodate any parking congestion. Number two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property include, and the variance will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. The approval of the variance will allow for more homes and enhance the values and the aesthetics of the area and make these vacant lots align more with the vibrancy and developments on the Val and surrounding areas. The neighborhood would benefit from the additional housing and density because of the housing that was previously removed to be able to construct the Kokomo Municipal Stadium. This will allow for the housing to be supplemented and will bring more people to the stadium as well. Number three, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in the practical difficulties. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. To allow for the adequate increase of housing in the neighborhood, the variance for the lot coverage is necessary. We're only requesting an additional 6% for the lot coverage to accommodate for the parking and the building units in order to fit the amount of housing to make this project beneficial for the city, the community, and the builder. These variances are required so we can comply with the other requirements.
Thank you. How many buildings are gonna be on this lot?
This one is going to be, I believe, 6.
Any questions from members of the board? Any questions from members of the audience? Mr. Sheehan, if you want to.
Yep. Staff findings for case P34V23, approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The approval of the requested variances for density, rear yard setback, lot coverage should not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. However, the approval of the variance for parking may leave some citizens who live along Vail Avenue without a place to park during frequent high-traffic times between baseball games, ice skating, other recreational events that the stadium draws to the area. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Granted, the proposed variances would allow the petitioner to infill a currently vacant lot located within the floodplain with the new and useful housing to help meet growing community needs. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed, nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. If the proposed variances are not granted, the petitioner will be unable to develop the property as he so desires and to his best advantage. The staff requests that the board make their own determination based on the facts presented.
Thank you. It shows there on your map that you're gonna have 24 parking spaces? And that's all off-street?
Yes.
Have any questions?
All about 300. I don't know where to begin on this, to be perfectly honest with you. I for one, am pretty doggone proud of that baseball diamond. I think it's a major asset to the community. I know it gets used for a lot of things. For you to build this size, to me, it does nothing but hurt. I think you're putting too many units in too small of an area. Parking, I can't agree with it all. You go down there on a ball game night and you're not even gonna park close to that. I mean, I personally just don't think this is a good fit, and there's just too many variances that's being asked.
Any members from the audience have any questions? Any members of the board have any additional comments, questions? Have you read yours?
Can you explain, so the parking lot is going to be to the west?
Yeah, the parking lot is in the apartment's on the front of Val, and then in this, situation is gonna be to the west of, the units.
And these are all one story? Or they're
These are two-story.
two story?
As mentioned, there was housing there before. Obviously, with the site work that needs to be completed, being in the flood zone and things like that, it makes the site work obviously more expensive than a typical construction. And so, with that being said, the density, obviously in that area being the downtown area, we've done other projects, obviously in Indianapolis, where we're getting very, 0.6 for parking and things like that because of it's closer to downtown. And so, obviously, I know you're concerned with the parking during ballpark and other events.
I'm a little more concerned. I mean, we've looked at a lot of developments, and we've heard a lot of walkability. And I agree that, on some cases, there's a little bit of room to move, but to move 50% is just, I just don't get it. I'm sorry. That's way too big of an ask, in my opinion. I don't understand it.
Would you have a recommendation on what percentage to move?
Not anywhere close to, not anywhere close. I've probably read, not probably, I most assuredly, I have looked at almost every city that I could get my hands on their parking and what they look for and how they figure it. We have, on occasions when walkability was a major factor or considered to be a major factor, we went down to 1.6 parking. One of those, I won't mention the address, I really wasn't for it when it happened. I drive by frequently just to see if I'm right or wrong, and that parking lot is always full to the max. Now, there's a business parking close to it that happens to get the overflow so at 1.6, and you're pushing it real hard, and you would have to look at it. For a percentage, I would have to look and see what it is. So I just think it's too large of a project on too small of properties. I just don't think it fits. I don't like any of the variances. I definitely don't like the parking. I just don't think it fits.
Do you have any options to go for more parking?
We would have to look at the numbers. I think it's obviously with Kokomo current rental rates and things like that being where it's at, and hopefully in the future they come up to more favorable, and I think they will. But currently with that site and then to try to get the parking, like I said, with the site work and everything, that would be tough to do if we come down on parking. But if you guys had a recommendation, we can take a look at that and see if it made sense.
Well, I don't, TJ, I hope I'm not speaking out of line. I don't think that this board will come up with a recommendation. However, you know, if, with what's being said, if this, just to keep in mind, if this is voted down tonight, you can't bring it back before the board for 6 months. So if you're concerned, or if you think there's a way to get some more parking and help with some of these variances, you have every right to ask for a continuance, so it's not voted on tonight. Is that correct, DJ?
That is, and the second part is, right now, we're voting on two variances. One is maximum density and one is minimum rear yard setback. Mr. Besser, do you have the same issue with the minimum?
I do.
Okay.
The city, obviously, if we talked to the city, they're supportive of that minimum setback.
I mean, it's up to you. We can continue, we can continue on and go for the vote, or you
But
can
the-
ask for a continuance. It's entirely up to you.
I guess the issue would be if, you know, if this is obviously continued and we come back and we keep going back and forth on what the acceptable parking.
Well, I mean, the goal is, hopefully the goal would be that in the next 30 days, we can come up with some more parking and
Like he would have a chance to meet with your office.
maybe
and
to
then-
alleviate some of the concerns. And I'm not saying that will happen. I'm saying there's a potential for that would be the only thing that I can think of. If not, we can move forward with the vote, and however it plays out, it plays out, so.
I guess, is any of the other members have any questions or concerns about?
Yes, I'm also concerned about the parking. So I think, you know, I've driven by it several times trying to see it out in my head, and it's just not fitting. And it's not. I drove during the daytime, evening, just trying to get different looks at it, and it just doesn't seem like it's gonna fit. You're asking way too much. I mean, it's up to you, but maybe, you know, working with the staff, the office of staff.
Yeah, let's take that approach then, do a continuance, and then we work with you guys, see what we can come up with.
So you're asking for a continuance until January? Is that copacetic?
Yep.
TJ?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we don't need to do anything else.
No vote on that.
No,
He's
there's no
entitled to
vote
it.
because the petitioner is asking for a continuance, and it'll be heard in January.
All right, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next case will be case P35V23, petition of Affordable Market Rate LLC requesting a variance of 279 square feet to section 3.20, minimum floor area per unit, and variance of 144 parking spaces, 20% to section 6.46A parking. This would be in an M2 zone. This is lots located north of 4600 Coulter Drive and Walnut Creek Apartments and east of Brook Road.
This is just north of Walnut Creek.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
I move that we approve case number P35-V-23 and adopt the findings of the petitioner and those of this board and make those findings part of our records.
Second.
Thank you. Any members had any ex parte communications on this case? Petitioner, if you state your name and address and.
Jacob
Why you're here.
Gattuso, Counsel for Affordable Market Rate. It's 215 East Berry Street, Fort Wayne.
Thank you.
And just to give some context with me, we've got Todd Bauer, engineer, surveyor, and then Bill Drinkle, Jonathan Hardy, principals of Affordable Market Rate. So if there are any specific questions or comments, I may be deferring to them. So.
Thank you.
Number one, the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Applicants requesting these variances to allow for the development of a multifamily dwelling facility housing 360 units. development will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community, as the proposed development will be constructed in a first-class manner, contain multiple outdoor amenities, and is consistent with the density threshold established by the ordinance. Applicant anticipates that the development will include 241 bedroom units, each 453 square feet, and 122 bedroom units, each being 658 square feet in size. These proposed unit sizes are designed to accommodate the needs of the potential rental market within the city of Kokomo and provide an efficient site design, maximizing green and open spaces within the development. The ordinance requires 2 parking spaces per multifamily unit. Applicant believes that given the size and nature of the proposed units, the parking needs of residents will likely not be 2 spaces per unit, and by assuming that 1/2 of the units require space for 2 vehicles, given that 2/3 of the total units are proposed to be 1 bedroom, the proposed parking provided by the development will meet the requirements of future residents. The proposal will be beneficial to public health and general welfare by reducing vehicular traffic while balancing the needs for residents' transportation ability. Number 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The property is located in a predominantly residential area, and the permitted uses for an M2 district expressly contemplate medium to large-scale multifamily residential developments, i.e. apartment complexes of medium to high density. The quality of the development proposed by applicant is consistent with the general purposes served by the ordinance and will not adversely affect the use and value of the adjacent property. Use will be consistent with the current residential uses surrounding the property. However, it is anticipated that a large number of vehicles per unit will not be necessary. By limiting the parking spaces to what may be reasonably anticipated to be required given the number of single-bedroom units, the corresponding reduction in traffic would be beneficial to the use and value of the adjoining areas. Given the traffic is most often a primary concern of the neighbors, by granting the proposed variance with respect to parking spaces, this concern is mitigated and approval would not adversely affect the use or value of the area adjacent to the property. By reallocating square footage to a lesser number of units, the ordinance would not prohibit increasing the number of bedrooms per unit to comply with square footage obligations, and application of the ordinance does not impact the number of residents within the proposed development, given that the ordinance applies to the overall unit size rather than bedroom counts or sizes. Accordingly, reduction in the minimum square footage per unit to allow for a higher number of 1-bedroom units versus a lower number of multiple bedroom units having a larger average square footage does not reduce the number of potential residents and similarly will not impact the use and value of the area adjacent to the property. Number 3, strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. Strict application of the ordinance with respect to the minimum number of parking spaces will result in an excess of stormwater runoff as a result of larger parking areas and would make it impractical for applicant to construct the number of units proposed, therefore potentially making the proposed development infeasible. As shown on the proposed site plan, a large portion of the property is anticipated to serve as stormwater detention. By strictly enforcing the requirement of 2 parking spaces per unit, applicant would be required to reduce available amenities, shrink the green space to expand the anticipated stormwater detention pond. In the alternative, applicant would be required to reroute stormwater drainage or include additional utilities which may have an adverse impact upon surrounding properties and further limit the available construction layout within the property. Further, the proposed layout of the development considers multiple easements, access points, and locations of utilities, and several buildings were required to be shifted and downsized to meet the development standards for which a variance is not being sought, and avoid encroachments upon the easements already encumbering the property. taking into consideration all relevant factors, the property cannot reasonably be put to a conforming use because of the limitations imposed by the ordinance with respect to the minimum square footage of each unit.
Thank you.
I guarantee you I'm not reading their findings. Case P 35V23, staff findings. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The approval of the requested variances for floor area and parking will not cause injury to the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare of the community. The reduction in parking floor area unit will not create any safety hazards, block vision, or encroach on any property lines or recorded easements. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Granting the proposed variances should not negatively impact the use or value of any adjacent properties. The variances are entirely contained on the subject property and will only impact those who choose to rent a reduced-sized apartment with limited parking. In filling this currently vacant land that is already zoned for multifamily residential use would add value to the area and would add much-needed housing to the community. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed, nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. Petitioners face a practical difficulty in attempting to provide affordable market-rate apartments with ample amenities for the city without making reductions in select areas. If the variances for floor area and parking are not granted, the petitioners will be unable to use their creative plans for this site and will be unable to utilize the lot as they desire to the advantage of the community.
Thank you. Any questions from members of the board?
Are the 1 and 2 bedroom units going to be divided into each building, or is one building going to be for 1 bedrooms and another building's going to be for 2 bedrooms, or?
Hello, Todd Bauer with Foresight Consulting. My address is 1910 St. Joe Center Road in Fort Wayne. Each building will have a mixture of 1 and 2 bedroom units, generally equally distributed throughout the site, but 1 and 2 bedroom units will be in each individual building.
And about how many units per building?
36, yes. Yeah.
How many stories is this building?
It's intended to be a 3-story building. And in each building, there'll be 24 1-bedroom units and 12 2-bedroom units.
There's only one entrance and exit to the facility?
Yes, it'll have one entrance off of Brook Road.
Any other questions from members of the board?
I got one, I'm trying to figure out how to ask it. You gentlemen have done this before. Have you done a study, or can you help me out on the parking and why you think the decrease in number is sufficient? And
I'll stand up. Bill Drinkle, 3609 Delray Drive, Fort Wayne. So the size of the units, the 453 square feet we're requesting, they are basically single dwelling units. There may be some 2 people in some of them, but mostly going to be 1 person in a lot of those. So we just don't see 2 and 3 people living in these.
because of the size of these apartments.
Pardon me?
Just because of the size itself.
They're small.
Like I said, we're set at 2. I don't know if that's a good number. I really think it needs to be looked at. I think we need a better formula.
We have talked about actually assigning the spaces and, so that people, they're allowed, 2 bedrooms per person, a car, but assigning the spots and kind of making sure that there's not a lot of people storing their cars there.
That was one of the largest points that came up was that where you had assigned parking, you would have, I don't know how you enforce it or whatever, but that was one of the things, in more than one article, that's what assigned parking was stated that it helps, so. So where we at? I didn't even do,
We're still on questions.
no, how many, where we at as far as parking spots? What's that work out to?
1.64. 1.64.
1.64?
So it's about 35
Okay.
points off of the two. I'm not sure how many totals does that give us? 591. 591? Okay, so it's,
Any other questions from members of the board? I'd ask, do we have any?
Do I need to reintroduce myself? Okay. With respect to the parking, and I think that's something for assigned parking that our team is not opposed to, and given the ability to apply certain covenants in exchange for the variance, I think we'd be willing to enter into a covenant that says we'll assign parking or get a procedure in place to make sure that one resident does not have excessive cars being maintained, or provide specific guest parking in certain areas. But we feel that the breakdown, as Bill mentioned, would make sense, but certainly open to addressing the parking logistics.
I don't know if that's an answer. I was just saying, in the articles that I read, when somebody would come with a lower number, the caveat was because we have assigned parking. So I don't know if it works.
Yeah.
I just wanted that information.
Do you have any questions from members of the audience? If you would, state your name and address.
I'm Richard Tubbs, 4110 Brook Road, Kokomo, Indiana, 46902. Great day to have a laryngitis, too. Well, I wasn't going to mention the parking, but since they brought it up and you guys brought it up, we had a meeting with them last Tuesday at the library, and my comment is they're stating that, they're gonna charge $1,000 a month for these apartments, and $1,000 a month for 453 square foot, one bedroom. Probably gonna take two incomes, so there's probably gonna be two people living in that bedroom. So unless they're gonna ride to work together, they're gonna need two parking places. That's really about what I want to say on that. So I wasn't really wanting to talk about parking because as residents of Brook Road, we look at it, the less parking, the less surface area, the less lighting. And as long as we're on that subject, one of the things that I have brought up in the letters, the emails that I've sent, which I assume I've seen people flipping through things. Has everybody received the emails that I sent?
My office received emails that you sent.
Okay.
Yes.
Would anybody who hasn't seen it want to see the documentation that I wrote?
If you've got it.
Who needs a copy of it?
We can do a couple, we can share it through here if you just got to.
Well, some people have it. I've already seen people flipping through them.
There are more copies if you need them.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'd like to have my own copy.
Everybody get one?
I got one to read from.
Keep one for you.
And again, I'm not versed in what we're supposed to be doing here other than talking about what we're kind of against. And I guess the first thing is that I really don't understand how the board can grant a variance of 279 square feet for these apartments when the ordinance calls for 800 square foot minimum for the apartments. I understand how, matter of fact, in the letter that I wrote, You know, I just compared it to the adjacent Walnut Creek Apartments, and their one-bedrooms are 706 square feet, which are already bigger than what they're going to put a two-bedroom in. And their two bedrooms are 898 square feet, and their three bedrooms are 1,062 square feet. And let's see, the Walnut Creek rents a two-bedroom apartment at $1,081 a month. So why would someone want to rent a 453 square foot one-bedroom apartment when they can rent a two-bedroom for $80 more a month? And I just, you know, as we say that, you know, there are vacancies available at Walnut Creek today, and we just feel that this is not going to be beneficial to our property values, and that's one thing. And the other thing that's in the documentation that I brought up, and I'll bring it up, because I don't know how these other these alternatives that I've proposed in my second email. Essentially, one thing that we definitely don't like is the idea of all of the parking lots for this development facing the outside of the property. If you look at Walnut Creek, they've got all of their parking lots on the inside of the development, and they use the buildings to shield the lighting from the surface parking. And we feel that that needs to be done for this development if it's going to go in place. We still would love to see it be something that is more along the lines of what the zoning board requires of 800 square foot minimums. And then as far as the other aspects that I've talked about is having an alternative entrance proposal, and that would be to move it, as you can see on the pages that I've attached, move it from where it exists right now back to the spur that's off of Albright Road. And that entrance there, what that would do, they could then block off Brook Road. They could block Brook Road and post it all the way up on Alto Road as no outlet. And then the city could put a turnaround at the end of the dead end on Brook Road, and potentially another turnaround at the end of Alto where it turns on to Brook Road. Doing that would prevent the city from having to do any kind of infrastructure development that would have to be done along Brook Road and Alto as far as sidewalks and road widening improvements and things like that. And it would preserve our community as we see it as being, you know, more of a residential community and not one that we would be afraid to, you know, go out and walk our dogs on that road without sidewalks and things like that. So it's just, I have gone out and put out petitions to the residents of Brook Road, and I also went up Alto because even though the people on Alto Road were not, the board was evidently not obligated legally to present the information to them about this improvement, they are definitely going to be impacted, especially if we have the designed entrance and exit of the apartment complex located on Brook Road, to where the traffic that comes out of the apartment complex onto Brook Road, it's a 50-50 split. 50% of the people may go up Brook Road over to Albright. The other 50% are going to go up Brook Road onto Alto. So we're going to have, if you got people going to work, even with their only one car limit, that's gonna be 360 cars leaving every day and 360 cars coming back every day that we don't have today on our road. And I guess I'd like to give the petition to the board. And I also have the petition that was passed around for the alternate entrance proposal that I've detailed to you. I've detailed it to all the members, or all the houses I could contact along Alto Road and Brook Road. And I have an overwhelming approval by the residents who support the alternate entrance from where it is to where it would be. And I've got that petition here as well. And I just urge the board to consider that the zoning ordinances were written for a purpose, and the purpose is to protect our community. We realize you have a double-sided mandate to encourage development in Kokomo, but the question is at what cost is that development? Can that development be done in a way that will, enhance the community with, I can't, I'll tell you something else that's funny. After we had the meeting in the library with the members of the developers, my wife and I went home and we measured the great room in our house. And in our great room in our house, if we take and add 1 foot into our hallway and 3 foot into our kitchen, that's the entire floor space of a 453-foot one-bedroom apartment. They're going to put a kitchen, a bathroom, living room, bedroom, all of that in that small space. And at $1,000 a month, I can't see where they're going to be able to fill that facility with tenants at the prices they're talking about when there are other affordable houses with more square footage available. So hopefully I've made our case for our community, and hopefully you'll vote against their variance.
The only thing that I would say is the alternative entrance that you're talking about, that would be something that if this all gets approved and moves forward, that will be discussed and looked at during development plan approval.
And I would welcome that.
Sure, I understand. I'm just saying, this board can't make that decision.
Right.
But
I
the
realize
planning
that.
commission board could.
And as I said in my email, I don't know where this stuff
I understand.
goes.
No, I understand. I'm just saying that's when those kinds of things would be discussed.
And like I say, my opinion of it is that there would be less impact to our neighborhood and less cost impact to the city by doing it this way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Andy Miller. I'm at 4220 Brook Road. And, I'm against this variance altogether. Last year we were here, they were going to build an apartment complex back over there, and they had entrances on the north and the south. Well, these people want to put an entrance right in front of our house. Most of the people on Brook Road are retired. I've got 3 more years to go and I'm retired. I've met a couple of my neighbors sitting out in my front yard, and they're walking their dogs up and down the road, and that's how we've met. Well, you put this entrance right in the middle of our road. To all this traffic, we don't have sidewalks. People walk their dogs. Me and my wife, we enjoy walking around the block. People ride their bikes, they jog. We lose all that. Another thing, at nighttime, you can see the stars. We get to see the trees, the deer, the birds. It's so peaceful out there. I've lived there 23 years, some people longer. We are going to lose everything. I mean, everything. And then they're gonna put the lights out here, so now we've got these bright lights shining in our house. We've got cars with headlights coming in and out. It just, I realize that we have to expand here in Kokomo. I get that, I'm not against that. But I know there's areas around here that you could build a project that wouldn't affect so many people's lives. I know there's a place right there at Center and Albright on the southeast corner. That's for sale. One house would face it. What I'm saying is there is alternatives to this where we could be left in peace, and there's other locations that could possibly be found for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Buster.
Right, absolutely.
Hi, my name is Sherry Tubbs.
If you would step up to the microphone.
I'm Sherry Tubbs. I'm Rick Tubbs' wife. I live at 4110 Brook Road. I'm one of the ones that goes out walking and talking with all the neighbors. My concern, one of the big concerns, is the traffic on the road. That road will have to be completely redone. There have not been any studies that have been presented that even talk about the number of cars that will be going up and down that road. If I remember correctly from the last time we were here, they said there would be approximately 2,000 cars more a day. I don't know where they came up with that number, but I think a study needs to be done. I don't know if you're familiar with where Brook Road is. That's not a very long road. And to have that as one entrance and exit is very concerning. And again, like my husband said, talking about the sidewalks, the lights, but then nobody's even talked about the number of children that will come in to this area, which I love children. How is this going to affect Taylor's school system? The busing. There's so many things that go into it, because this is a large area that they're wanting to put a lot of people in. And just because it's only 600 and some square feet or a one bedroom, are you going to tell a single mom of 3 kids she can't move in there? Into that one bedroom? I mean, here again, the cost of it is going to be, a factor. But I just think there's a lot that needs to be thought about. And these apartments are so small, And again, how many of these units are going to be filled? And then it's going to be left empty. Then what's going to happen? Is it going to become an eyesore? So, we would like to preserve our area as best as we can and still allow for growth. But we do not see this as a positive for our area. That's all.
Thank you. Again, some of what you just said would be looked at during site plan approval as well. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Jared Grails, 4208 Brook Road. I got some of the same concerns. You're putting a lot of traffic on that road. You guys came and fixed the road, and we got a groundhog digging holes in it. Heck, we got 3 or 4. How many holes in the road right there by your house? For one or 2 groundhogs. So I about messed my tire up about a dozen times on that hasn't got fixed. And you're going to throw how many more cars on that little area? And the parking, just threw the guy out here for a big thing for parking. So I don't know why we can grant it for one and we can't grant it for another. I guess I don't understand that. I mean, you're right, for $1,000 for one person in a 300 or 400 square foot apartment, that's gonna take two people. So you're gonna have two cars. So where's all this extra parking gonna go? If it's out on Brook Road, I'll be calling everybody's house saying, hey, come get this car out of here. So that's my big concern is, that's a lot of cars, a lot of traffic for that road that hasn't been taken care of, that nobody touches. We already got a groundhog who's got 3 or 4 holes in the road almost. So that might be something we could look at before we go putting a bunch of traffic on a road that ain't been taken care of.
Ryan Hillman, 48216 Brook Road. All those I agree with. The light pollution is a concern. You know, property value, they say it's not going to affect it, but are they going to guarantee it? And then if we look at Kokomo as a whole, do we want more outsiders building apartments, or would it be better for people to build houses and develop that land and take pride in the land versus having people come and go all the time? So I agree with the rest of the residents that this should be considered and looked at the complaints. Thank you.
And again, the city does have a lighting ordinance, so that, something that would be looked at during site plan if this moves to that point. Okay? And another thing, this board, correct me if I'm wrong, this board does not consider the monetary side of this. This board does not consider how much someone would pay for an apartment. If someone doesn't want to pay that much, they're not going to rent there. If they don't want to live in a 453 square foot apartment, they're not going to rent there. So I just want everybody to understand that this board does not look at those types of issues. But when it comes to the site plan, we'll look at everything from possible new entrance. We'll look at whatever you folks, have an issue with. We'll certainly take a look at it and see what can be done. Sometimes the developers, step forward and fix some things. As far as groundhogs and roads, I can't answer that one. If you've got problems, you need to call the city and complain if you haven't already, and see what they can do about that. And I just will tell you, this property is already zoned multifamily. So at some point in time, it's going to get developed, whether this group does it or somebody else. It's going to get developed. So I just hope everybody understands that. So, okay, I'm done.
You're done?
I'm done.
Council, I have a question.
Yes.
Can I base my opinion on too many small apartments?
Yeah.
I would say that you need to base your opinion on the variance for the minimum floor area, not per unit. So
Too much of a variance going
if they're
from
too
800.
small, then
I'm saying too many too small.
Can I make one more comment? Based on what you're just saying, they are very close right now to being over the density limit right now. The density limit's 24, and they're at 22.7. So they're close right now.
Understand.
So just, since you made that comment, I think that, this is, again, very small apartments and a lot of people, a lot of traffic.
Can I ask, are the one bedrooms, are they studios or are they actual
They'll
one
actually have
bedrooms?
a bedroom, they'll actually have a nice balcony, so the doors will slide, and so you'll have, when you open doors and you have a balcony, it does kind of help the space and the concept of it being a little larger. You'll have large sliding doors.
Generally speaking, just to give an idea on the unit size.
My name's John Hardy.
Yes. 12472 Ostera Court, that's in Fishers, Indiana. Just want to address the unit size and the parking. This is a project that's predominantly been utilized in urban areas. where, affordable housing, any type, whether it's truly affordable by government subsidy or just I can afford the rent there, okay? So they've gone to smaller units, so people that live in tight, really expensive urban environments have a place to live that's safe and clean, okay? And what we found is around the state of Indiana, we've had other municipalities, not quite unlike Kokomo and Howard County, that are growing. And the issue is, well, we've got all these new jobs, just don't have a place for people to stay. And so people are trying to figure out the best they can. So what we've done is we've worked with our municipalities, spoke with people in Kokomo as well as other people that develop this type of product. And what we are developing, when you truly look at it, it is not for somebody, I mean, anybody can live here, okay? But it's not really designed for somebody where, me and my fiance were getting married. I got a new job here at either one of the new plants or something else, so we're gonna go there and raise kids. It's not really that. It's designed for somebody who's coming and working, okay? And what we wanna be able to do is provide them with that clean, quality, safe environment. When I say safe, we're gonna have cameras, we're gonna have people on site, we're gonna maintain the project. But to provide them with that, and materials are so expensive today. Everything is just so gosh darn expensive. I mean, Big Mac's $9 now, I think. But for us to provide that quality environment, something's got to give somewhere. So what we did is we kind of kicked out all the dining rooms, number one. I remember living in an apartment room, my dining room, it was basically a table that held all the stuff that I didn't put away. So by elimination of the dining rooms, that was a big part of reducing the size. But they are sized for a person or people in the 2 bedrooms that are coming here, that are working and starting out on their progression of life. So that's the reason why they are designed that way. It wasn't, if we could make them 2,000 square feet and charge for it, that'd be great. But that is, the housing study we received from the city, everything we've looked at, all the information we've been given is like, that's not what we want. Like, that's what we were told you guys didn't want. What we're told is we want something that's efficient, that's affordable, that's not government subsidized, that anybody can live at. And so that's why we have the unit sizing. Also to the parking, we are located, we did step back when you look at the plans. We don't see anybody parking on Brook Road. Okay, if anything, we could see, to your point, if we don't have enough parking, could I see somebody parking over here on the side where the curb where they shouldn't be? Could we see somebody parking over there where they shouldn't be? Yes. But with our parking, program in place, that will be constantly addressed. But just the point Gentleman said, if they're parking on Brook Road, he's gonna be calling all of you. We don't see people coming over, parking on Brook Road, coming through the gate, walking, 400 or 500 feet to an apartment. That's what we think. I just wanted to address that. Doesn't mean somebody won't try to do it. Okay, but that was kind of our thinking process around the size of the units and the parking.
Is this gonna be a gated apartment complex?
Not a gate, we're gonna have, a front door with a gate.
We actually are gonna wire it for a gate and possibly an entry gate with a fob or sticker on the window or something, but we haven't made that final decision yet, but we will have the infrastructure to do that. We may go that route. We will have entry to corridors, the hall corridors, they will all be fobbed, so normally it's gonna be a secure facility.
And a lot of that comes to what, if we proceed forward, what the development group tells us to do as well. So I just want to make sure, any other questions about unit size or parking and how those two things work together?
And with the parking, I'll say one more thing about the parking is, if it's 2 spots per apartment, I could see with a lot of larger 2s and 3 bedrooms, you need that. It's just, with the size, it just, we really don't see needing it. We're not gonna allow a lot of people just, it's not gonna be communes living in these, that won't be allowed. So it's just when you downsize them that much, you do reduce the parking need. So.
Okay. I'll be quick and speak, just as relates to legal tests, appreciate and understand, we're not considering the financial aspects here or some of the development specifics, but with respect to these variances, part of the analysis as to square footage, unit counts is looking at trends across the country. A big part of these types of smaller units. One, it allows much higher quality of living space, so better materials, better furnishings, which a lot of people are looking and prioritizing purely over square footage. But then there's a direct result in emissions and environmental impact. So smaller unit sizes takes less energy to heat. There's going to be less waste coming out of each of those units. So to the extent we're looking at impact of the safety, welfare of the community, I think that is a benefit. With respect to the lighting and layout, of course, that's subject to the development standards and the site plan itself. But I would point out that part of the practical difficulty that is subject of the variance request is the drainage and access easements that run through the center of this property. So if you see on the proposed site plan, the buildings are around the exterior between the boundaries and the parking lots, and part of that is for the large drainage and detention pond in the middle there. And with respect to lighting, I think that when you're considering safety is normally a frequent request of more lighting. So that should kind of remedy that concern, that by lighting the exterior portions and all of the entrances to the apartment buildings, that's going to help with safety and deter any type of bad activity in the complex, that if someone comes in and parks there, right there under the lights for all to see. And with respect to parking, I don't want to beat the horse over the head here, but I think our team is not opposed to some type of study or some analysis, but we considered that and believe it would really be nothing more than speculation as to how many cars is a facility that, again, may or may not be rented out and fully occupied going to bring. We don't know until it's there. We're aware of to present that information, but again, happy if there's any specifics to look at that. So.
I have a question for you before you.
Yep.
One thing that you stated is that by building the smaller units that you'd be able to utilize better quality products. How is that possible? Wouldn't it make more sense to have a bigger unit to be able to utilize those high quality products in order for those individuals to have all of the amenities that they want?
When it comes to here's what has changed. That carpet square, okay, that let's say it used to cost $5, now it's like $12. Okay, but it's a great carpet square, it's a quality product, and we want to use that carpet square. But because it's almost 2.5 times what it was when we built our last project, we have to think of an alternative material. So the fact that we can have a smaller unit, sans dining room, we can still provide all the quality materials inside. That's exactly how we do it. And so within the facility itself, overall, we do have a clubhouse, leasing office. We'll have amenities there for all the residents. And then we do have some green space. But really, all the amenities are inside. And it is the form and function of the materials that we choose to create the apartment with.
Another question I have when it comes to the parking. In a lot of apartment places or buildings, complexes, the trash receptacles are in parking spaces. And so that would take up parking spots potentially. And there's no place on here that shows us how many trash receptacles will there be? Will it be in the middle? How is that process done?
I'll ask Todd. Do you know what we're doing with trash? That's good. We all have our individual jobs.
To answer your question, I mean, we have some areas around the perimeter of the property or within the parking areas. There's some striped areas and there's some other islands that will be used as locations to construct actual trash dumpsters and receptacles. So it won't be individual buildings. It won't be individual receptacles, but we'll have them strategically placed around the complex to serve that need. And at this point, it will not take away from any of the parking that's proposed.
I just wanted to make one more comment about the lighting and the building's position and using the buildings to shield the outside. I've tried to read the lighting ordinance, and it's kind of convoluted a little bit because you have to measure the candle power so
You
far.
gotta have candle power that you can,
Right.
anything more than that cannot encroach on another property, is basically.
Okay, but my question is, will there be a study done that guarantees that what they're going to do will meet that standard such that, because it's going to be difficult after they put the parking lots in and put the lights in to sit there and say, damn, we're sorry, we're not meeting
If that gets to be an issue after, if all this goes through and this is built, when they sign their improvement location permit from my office, they're basically saying that everything that was said in this meeting, development plan approval, is all going to be constructed the way it was said. If it's not, give me a call, and we'll definitely take care of it. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just saying,
I agree, and
Okay.
sometimes that happens.
Okay.
But if it does, then you can call us, and you can call our office, and we'll get with the developer, and we'll get it fixed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Couple things, just to clarify.
Just a couple?
Just a couple.
Just on this case.
Yeah, just on this one. So on Brook Road, that's in the public right of way, there's no on-street parking to my knowledge, so that's not gonna be allowed, and they'd be towed or, given tickets or what have you, so that's just not gonna happen. The lighting, we have lighting tests, but that comes in the development plan.
Correct.
And the amenities come in the development plan. And a lot of what we're looking at comes in the development plan approval as opposed to what we're looking at today, which is a variance of the parking spaces, right? They've asked 20%. And they've given an explanation. Whether the board accepts that is up to you, right? It's based upon 1 bedroom versus 2 bedroom. Second being the minimum floor area per unit and whether that size is acceptable for this development. So that's what we're looking at in this case today. Just to make things clear. All right.
Right.
Thank you.
Do I have any other questions? If we have no other questions from anybody in the audience, comments? If not, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed?
Opposed.
Motion?
Unanimous?
Huh?
Was that unanimous?
Yes,
Was for sure.
it was for sure. You want me to take a roll call?
I wouldn't mind, just
I
that way.
prefer that as well.
We'll have a roll call vote on that.
Hey, Mr. Besser?
Nay.
Ms. Durham?
Nay.
Ms. Bishop?
Nay.
Mr. Heimlich?
Nay.
Mr. Myers?
Nay.
Okay. It was unanimous.
All right, we have.
So I guess my next question is, with that being said, do you still want to continue with the special exception?
No.
Okay.
So we're not doing the last one?
We're not doing the last one.
Are we, is that withdrawn or continued?
We'll withdraw.
Okay.
Okay.
That means we won't come back.
So if you are withdrawing the last case, would one of you please send Jessica an email?
So, okay, so on the size of the units, if we were to continue and resubmit, what is that actually, instead of 6 months from now?
You can come back earlier than 6 months if the site plan, if everything, if I remember correctly, if it's changed drastically from the original. you can
Except for
bring it-
variance, correct.
Yes, you can bring it back before the 6 months. If it hasn't changed very much, you have to wait the 6 months to bring it back.
Okay, for the unit size?
Unit size or parking or whatever the variance was, yes.
You're asking for the variance of 279 feet versus our 800 square feet.
Yeah.
So you could meet with the office or, get back together with your team and change that variance up just a little bit of wiggle, kind of where we come back a little bit closer together. It's
So-
such a, big variance on
So-
mine, that, for me personally.
So if we continue, if we go with a continuance, then we would change that, come back and resubmit earlier than 6 months.
Well, continuance would be on case
The last case.
P18
The last case.
SE 23, which is the special exception for dwelling with multifamily 17 units or more. Submit-
Yeah, there was a vote on the first case.
Which you can withdraw that at a later date
Okay.
if so choose, but if you withdraw it today, then you would have to resubmit that as well, depending on what you want to do. You can always continue it today and withdraw it after you guys have a chance to meet privately. That's kind of, you do what you want.
While we're here, and I don't know if you can answer this question now, but I think, Ms. Durham, your comment on, like, trying to bridge that gap of the current.
Can we try, we've got to keep a record. Could you come?
Okay,
All right.
sorry.
No worries.
The comment of, resubmitting and bridging the gap, and lowering the variance on unit size from 240 or so less than the 800 average.
279 square feet.
Yeah, 270. My question is, because resubmitting within that 6-month period requires a substantial change in the proposal, we view that as there's probably not a substantial change other than increase unit size to the full 800 square feet average. But I don't know if you can answer the question as to what you would view as a substantial change in this case.
Basically, that is up to my office, whether that change, and I would get with our city attorney to make sure he is, that we're both on the same page. Just like we told the last petitioner, this board can't fill out a number and say, if you bring it here, we're going to approve it. But you can come back with a new plan. I'll look at it, I'll look at it with TJ, and if we think it's substantial, that doesn't mean it has to be up to the 800, but if we think it's.
There is some room.
There is some room. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean the board's going to agree with my assessment, but I can certainly make that assessment that, yes, this is substantial enough for you to resubmit and bring it back before the
So
board.
we communicate.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Well, in light of that, I think that's helpful. And so I think we'd just move to, or request a continuance of the
You got a
special
continuance
exception.
on the
Yeah.
last case? Okay,
Okay?
all right. We don't need to vote on that, do we, since
No,
they asked for it?
it'll be granted to the,
Okay.
and moved to the next meeting.
Right, okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
If they're requesting a continuance, will we be notified similarly as we were with this, for this meeting?
For the second,
Be the second Tuesday of first Tuesday.
First
of-
Tuesday of the next month.
Of January.
of January.
But what if they don't come back with anything? I mean, how do we
If it's
know they're on,
withdrawn.
how do we know we know for a fact they're on the agenda?
So Miss Jessica down here works at the Plan Commission office. She does a phenomenal job.
I know, all of you
Cannot
do.
Speak highly of her. any hire of her. And if you want to contact her and
can tell you.
say 2 weeks, then
Okay.
she'll be able to give you don't know or confirm that it's set. And then can you be the spokesperson for Brooks Road?
I seem to be.
All right, sounds good.
Now,
Thank you.
you know, unless they come back to us in the near future and say, we've looked at this, we can't change it, we're just gonna withdraw it, then it will be on the January agenda.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
All right?
Thank you.
So which one did you say that they can't come back for 6 months on the parking area?
Yeah.
That's for the variance, unless,
Variance on the parking
unless
area.
they change it drastically,
I
okay?
just want clarification
Yeah,
on that.
yeah. If they change it drastically, they can come back before the 6 months.
Okay.
If they don't, if they come back with this same plan, they have to wait 6 months. Okay?
But that's just on the parking,
No,
not
No,
living.
that's minimum floor area.
That's
and
parking and minimum floor
And
area.
the size of the
Okay.
apartment.
Yes.
Okay,
That
that
was
is
wrapped
both of
together.
them?
Yes.
Correct, yes, sir.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Now, do we have any
I
other,
have no other business tonight.
we have
Mr.
any other
President.
business before the board? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting is adjourned.